Well, thank you, Mr. Dillon, for being here today. When faced with challenges that are out of our control, how can we collectively accept and manage the change that is certain to come? So Matt Dillon is here from ʻīao School. He is the principal there, and we'll be speaking about our connection with ʻīao School, as well as ways that we can pay attention to the systems, mindsets, and have a common vision, and he will share his efforts to grow with the flow. Thank you, Matt, for being here today.
All right. Hey, thank you very much, Joyce, for inviting me to speak with the faculty and staff of UH College. Kind of a humbling experience. The last few months have been, and I hope some of the things I can share will, help you guys understand ʻīao School a little bit better, and help you understand some things about our journey that may help you guys as you kind of forge ahead. It's been a pretty wild last 6 months or so, and when I just read Joyce right there reading the description, I thought, oh my gosh, have we really done that? Have we collectively been able to work together and make the changes that we had to when faced with all these challenges? And in some ways I feel we have, in others, it's still a work in progress, and it doesn't end, and those challenges keep coming. So that's just hearing that be read back to me, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope that we've actually achieved that, and I think in some places we have. So anyways, I hope that you guys get something out of this. Very happy to be in this position, and able to talk to you guys. So, I wanted to say first, I'm pretty lucky being principal of ʻīao School. I've been here for 5 years, and what that did is it really allowed me to develop relationships and trust with our faculty, our parents, our community, and any kind of progress that we've made or developments we've made has really been a result of those existing relationships and trust. And so for me personally, having all of this, this extreme change dropped on us, my context within ʻīao School was in a very good place for that. And that was a very lucky thing. We've had a lot of teachers stay at ʻīao, and we've attracted some great teachers. And again, having that existing trust and relationship has just made a huge difference. And I think I've been very, very lucky to have that that foundation before before this all happened. So very, very happy about that. I'm gonna share my screen with you, and I'm gonna share a little some images and a presentation with you guys. I apologize in advance. It's not going to be particularly interactive, but I really want you guys to stop and ask questions. So don't be shy. Just unmute, ask the question. If you have something you want to type into the chat, I believe Joyce is monitoring the chat, and she'll kind of let us know exactly what that question is. So I really like you guys to feel free to do that while we're here. So it's so complex being at a school. It's a big school. We have 130 staff, nearly 900 students. And there's just so much going on and so much complexity that even when I try to reflect on the things that we've done, it's a huge challenge to capture everything. And so there's probably some incredible stuff that I've just left out, or some thoughts that I've omitted. And so I just want to encourage you guys to ask those questions to bring some of those things out. So, okay, so let's get started. So growing with the flow at ʻīao Intermediate School. How can we thrive, not just survive, in the normal of public education? So the reason I pointed out the public education in particular is that we, again, are a public school, and we have a responsibility to every single student that comes here. And equity in education is, something that we strive for, and that's something unique to public education. It also speaks to the wide range of students and families that we serve. So I felt that that was an important thing to involve in there. So objectives of this presentation, I just want to help faculty and staff at UH Maui kind of understand the role of ʻīao School here in Wailuku, and the areas that we serve. Not everybody knows a lot about ʻīao School. If you grew up here in Wailuku, you most likely came to ʻīao School, but we tend to be hidden. We're kind of off the beaten track. As you come through Wailuku, I talk to people, they don't even know we're here. We're also middle school. And much like a middle child, we often struggle for attention, and that kind of, maybe, I don't want to say it puts a chip on our shoulder, but, middle school is a very different place, very unique. Most of you probably remember your middle school experience, and undoubtedly there was some challenges there in your lives as you were going through your adolescence. And so the second objective is to share some of the developments in the vision and direction of the school amidst this COVID pandemic. So much pivoting, so many iterations of our planning, so much change daily, hourly, at some points with the direction we were going. And I hope that I can share some of the things that we've done, and some of the mindsets and visions that we had to adjust in that process. And it's really just been a journey that doesn't end. And of course, the last objective is to build partnerships, continue building partnerships between UH Maui and ʻīao School. We're lucky to have you guys there, and we hope that that can continue, that these partnerships can continue. Okay, this is my disclaimer, all right? Success is relative, and it's very, kind to be invited to this, but I in no way feel that we've won or we've reached the mountaintop, so to speak. We're not there. We'll never be there. Like I said, the challenges continue. And the other part of my disclaimer is that this presentation is not so much about me. It's really about the collective will and the collective responsibility of our staff. And that goes all the way up and down, from admin to teachers, to custodians, to cafeteria staff. This is really what it's about. This is not about me. From the bottom to the top and back down again, ʻīao School is really about pride in what we do and caring for our students. And that's probably the most important core belief that we all have here at ʻīao School. All right, so there's ʻīao School. If you haven't been there before, we're located right on Market Street. This was the old Armory. It's our primary building. This is seen it from the other side, so maybe you haven't seen it from this direction, but we're a pretty big school. We serve, from Kahakuloa to Waikapu, from Wailuku Heights down to Happy Valley, Pakakalo. So wide range of areas, and extremely wide range of students. Of course, we're 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade. So we have, kids who are from 11 to 15-year-olds on campus. And they're here for 3 years, and boy, do they change in 3 years. So there's a picture of some of our students. You know, I'm going to show a lot of pictures of our students. And the reason for that is, you know, these guys are why we're here every day. Okay. The picture you see on the right there, of course, if you look at the yellow, the light purple and the dark purple, you know, we do span a very large geographic range. But more than a geographic range, you know, is our range of students. Extremely diverse backgrounds at ʻīao School. Extremely diverse in their interests, diverse in their academic inclination. We have all kinds, and makes us great, but really makes it challenging. One thing I can say, just in light of, you know, this transition during the COVID period, was technology. Obviously, that was a massive hurdle for us to overcome. We've kind of mobilized around that, distributed about 500 computers out to students, you know, gone after getting hotspots, you know, distributing about 100 hotspots to kids, working hard with the district to get, you know, a satellite receiver out in Kakuloa, because those kids, you can give them a hotspot, but it won't work. We actually had to physically install like a satellite out there to get into that valley. So that has been one of our greatest challenges, and one of the first challenges was that big distribution of technology and helping it get it out to these kids. Everybody has a phone, not everybody has a laptop, so that was a big hurdle that we had to overcome. Just going to share a little bit of data with you guys. Again, this is just kind of giving you the background of the school. We are a Title I school, and what that means is that we have a high percentage of students who either receive free or reduced lunch based on socioeconomic status. So that you can see those numbers kind of gradually increase. And of course, this school year, you know, it did jump up again, you know, by about 5% or so. That had a lot to do with our economy, but even before, you know, people losing jobs due to COVID, we had a lot of families, you know, living in below the poverty line, receiving free and reduced lunch. This is also, you know, a blessing for us financially as a school. We receive Title I funding, you know, over $300,000 annually because of that, and we're very lucky to have that. So that allows us to purchase technology, supplemental curricula, you know, help communicate better with parents. So we're very lucky to have that federal funding that comes along with this. But of course, there's the challenges that come with it as well. Another big demographic shift we've experienced at ʻīao School is increase in our EL population. EL is our English learners. So, you know, gradually that number has been increasing throughout the years, and quite a big jump here in the last year. A lot of Micronesian families moving into the area and attending school here. And this, again, is one additional challenge instructionally, how to support these students, you know, offering them instruction that helps develop language. And of course, as you might imagine, who struggles the most during distance learning? It's our students that are of the low socioeconomic group and our EL students. So one big change we've seen during this time and this switch to distance learning, for the kids that are doing well, this works great. For the kids who weren't, they're really at a disadvantage. They're hard for us to support because they're not here. And that's one of, you know, our biggest challenges and worries that we have is how do we help these kind of marginalized kids when we don't even see them every day. And that's been a challenge. So moving on. So middle school, adolescence. Here's what middle school kids look like. Now, you may notice something about this picture. This happened to be a monthly, I think it was homeroom student of the month, this picture, and all these kids came in. We did like a pancake breakfast for them. But obviously you might notice one other thing, and that's most of them are girls. Boys academically, behaviorally, very much struggling in middle school, it's a challenge, and it's another kind of hurdle that we're trying to overcome. How do we build that equity in? And again, who is struggling the most during distance education? Being at home, being on the computer, it's the boys. And so that is something that we definitely need to address, because that is another group that is very challenged, and even more so in this time. So middle school, this is a time when kids are building skills. They're exploring all their different interests. They're kind of starting to develop a sense of responsibility to themselves, to others. This is the first time they're starting to get in arguments. They're starting to have disagreements. They're making friends. They're losing friends. They're becoming a lot more independent. Naturally moving towards adulthood, less dependence on parents, and friends tend to be extremely important. Social circles are very important to middle school students. And so that's where a lot of our learning takes place. One big place we've made an effort is with, we have what's called a peer mediation program. We actually train all of our sixth graders to be nonviolent communicators. And then one opportunity for them as they move into seventh and eighth grade is to become a peer mediator, where we can actually refer students who are having conflict to these students, and then they engage them in a dialogue and help solve their conflict, solve their problems. And I'll talk about that a little bit more when I discuss our service electives. But at the same time, we got kids making extremely bad decisions here sometimes. There's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of misuse of social media and technology. But of course, it's very important for our faculty to maintain and understand that this is a learning period for these kids. And they're absolutely going to make mistakes. And that's, while it gets messy at times, that's really how they're learning, is kind of managing their way through those mistakes. So our big focus is keeping these kids in school, letting them explore and grow, and then of course, making it to high school so that they can be successful once they're there. All right, so I'm going to move on a little bit. This is this guy is Brad Montague. He came and spoke with us last year at our middle school symposium. And this is kind of the mentality that we take with our teachers, and the mindset is be who you needed when you were younger. Constantly talking about our purpose here as a faculty. What is important, what matters. Let's stay focused on the students. When they're successful, we are successful, and maintaining that kind of mindset among our teachers is one of the things that has really helped us be successful in this time of change, because we drill it into each other. We maintain this as something that we find just paramount to everything we do. Is we're here for the kids. We're going to support them. It takes somebody kind of unique to be a middle school teacher, believe it or not. This is we have an ugly sweater contest every Christmas time. The kids decorate their homeroom teachers' sweaters. But hey, I tell people we don't hire math teachers at ʻīao school. We hire middle school teachers who happen to teach math. It's really got to be about the students, understanding students. And when we interview teachers, the first question we ask is, why do you want to work at a middle school? Because it takes someone special to work with adolescents, this range of adolescents. And you can't teach middle school unless you love middle school kids, and everything that comes along with them. So, okay, we also have a very strong staff, and reiterate again, with our this is some of our office staff, but reiterating again the work that the custodians do, the work that the office staff does, the work that the cafeteria staff does, that all goes to student success. every little thing that they do, it feeds back down to the students. And that is the mindset of ʻīao School. And that is what propels people each day to come in and do their very best. And that's what has propelled us through this time as well, is that that kind of undying dedication to students, and that understanding that, me mowing the lawn, me trimming the hedges as a custodian, you're making the school safer. And that gets down to the students, and you bet it does. So that's really important. Okay. As a result, we've kind of developed this vision over the past couple of years, and it really came from, what do adolescent students need to be successful? They need to feel like they're connected to something, okay, that they have strong friendships, connections to the school. Whenever a kid comes up to the main office, they get in trouble for something, or something's happening, and we talk to the student, maybe they're not being successful, we always ask the same question to every student. If you needed help, who would you go to? Who is the adult on campus you would go to? And we find it to be a very big problem if they can't give us a name. They almost always do. But that's a question that we kind of trained ourselves to ask of these students. Everybody connects with somebody different, but there's got to be someone that those kids can go to at the school that they feel comfortable with. And that's something that we very much adhere to. Students need to feel capable. They need to be able to have some success in solving some problems. We'll work a lot on communicating our thinking. Believe it or not, middle school kids are extremely impulsive. They'll do something and we'll ask them, why did you do that? And they don't know. They don't remember what their thinking was at that moment, believe it or not. But that's another thing that we really talk about is kind of a self-awareness, and being able to kind of identify the train of thought that you were going through when you made a decision. And then the last part is contributing. And this is probably, one of the ones that's most important, for our staff. It's something that we celebrate in individuals, we appreciate individuals for, and that's taking the initiative to participate and improve. We always fail forward, but you can't fail forward if you don't take initiative, okay? And I'll say that again, you can't fail forward if you don't take initiative. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and try things, and put your energy towards something. And oftentimes it's not perfect, but we absolutely learn from it and can adapt and adjust it as we move forward. Okay. So about 6 months ago, we were faced with a huge change, right? Schools closed. When school reopened in August, about a week before we were planning to bring kids back, the state told us, nope, it's going to be distance learning. And so then we had to pivot once more. So we went from, a school that's used to doing everything in close proximity, in large numbers, very loudly, to a school that now is, everybody's removed from each other physically. And so what kind of strain does that put on our vision of being connected? Can we still maintain that vision given this new normal? So early discussions that we had with faculty was right around that. Is this still our vision? And resoundingly, it was yes, absolutely, it is still our vision. We still believe in connected, capable, and contributing, and that maintained our core belief, our core vision. But of course, how it gets interpreted, how it comes into action is going to look very, very different. And so that's something that we had to wrestle around with at the start of the school year, is how do we enact this vision in this different universe or new normal. But we absolutely agreed and came to terms as a faculty that this is still our vision. This is still what we believe in. This is still what's good for adolescents. It's just a matter of how and what is going to change, but our reasons why absolutely didn't. So water, okay, why water? Well, we were starting the school year as a leadership team. By the way, I have a really great administrative team, incredible vice principals, just, so dedicated, very supportive, very helpful, here for teachers, here for supporting them. I'm very lucky to have them. And we were sitting here back in July, talking about how do we develop or elicit the appropriate mindset for success in our teachers and staff. We knew that in the end it was going to be something simple, but the thought behind it was something pretty, complex. And we started to talk about, what is going to represent us this year. Obviously, we're Y-side all the way. So we talk about water a lot, and we started to, talk about the flow of water. I think somebody brought up a Bruce Lee quote. But water, of course, it finds its way. It fills the shape it's in, it finds the path until it's reached its destination. And the more we kind of thought about that, we said, that's how we need to be as a faculty. We need to be able to flow. When we're encountering these problems, we need to be able to navigate our way past them and without colliding into them. And so that's kind of how we came up with our kind of theme for this year, which was grow with the flow. We couldn't be passive though. We couldn't be just sitting back and letting things happen. We absolutely needed to grow through that. So it's not just about being water passively moving through the rocks. We needed to grow in that process. We talked a lot at the start of the school year about you are all first year teachers this year. Whether or not, whether you've been here for 30 years, you're a first year teacher this year, and you're going to be learning, you're going to be growing. And so a lot of the efforts we made early in the school year were about, allowing that to be the mindset of our faculty. Understanding that if we have that foundation and that belief that, hey, we're going to grow with the flow, that's how it's going to be. And we say it over and over again. And I've had themes before for school years. Every year we have a theme, but this was probably the most apropos one we've ever had. And we spoke about it, at length at the start of the school year to help people kind of all get together on that. We very much feel unified in what we're doing, and kind of this idea that we're all growing with the flow. I can still remember the very, very first day of school. Teachers came back, and I'm up there trying to give a presentation. I got 30 people in masks in front of me. I got 70 people at home or in their classrooms on their computer, and I'm just a mess. And I'm making mistakes left and right. And the teachers were like, "You're just growing with the flow, Mr. Dillon. That's what you're doing." And I said, "Absolutely." And so there's a certain level of acceptance and kind of forgiveness among each other, as we're going through that process. And so we've kind of turned it into something that I think has actually been really fun. Because it wasn't necessarily going to be fun. It's just a matter of how you look at it. So I think growing with the flow made sense for us. Some other mindset type things that we latched onto as the school year began was this concept of sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And then most importantly was the one on the right here. And that's about having 2020 goals. And we just had to kind of, as a whole faculty, reset our perception of what our goals were going to be. We spent time at the beginning of the year, basically revisiting our goals as individuals, as teams, as departments, to say, how are we going to readjust our goals given this new normal, and also, having to have empathy for our students, because they're in so many different places. You'll have some kids who come online and you can tell they have a beautiful little learning area set up. They have a nice computer, they got their nice headphones on, there's nobody running behind them. And you see other kids, they come on screen for their distance learning, and you can see, little brother in his diaper back here, and siblings and parents. You can tell they're in the living room. They probably don't have their own bedroom. And you can see the look on the kid's face. They're just in many different places. So that sense of empathy, for our students and for each other has been, a big part of it. So I put down at the bottom, remove the pressure and maintain a sense of urgency for students. It was, we were very much in an exploratory stage, and it wasn't a pressure. We still had that sense of urgency and care, but there wasn't, we kind of removed that pressure off of our teachers. Weren't setting like, rigorous expectations of them, for time spent online, or kids got to be on the camera. We really wanted to maintain that foundation of the first C, which is connected. And that's kind of what you see in that quote there on the right, was really about the 2020 goals and being connected. So that was something that we just hammered home, with everybody, so that they kind of understood. And we took the time to practice, revisiting those goals, and what it meant to be teaching. So much time spent, collaborating with each other as well. And that's, kind of made a big difference. Here's another thing that we did, that I thought made a big difference. We were seeking to thrive, not survive. So when we're meeting, when we're talking with teachers and we're starting to plan, we're not talking about, who's going to wear the mask, how many hand washing stations are there going to be. We could easily get caught up in that, and that's survival mode. So again, I talked to you guys a little bit about trust when we started. Without that trust, we might have been stuck in that survival mode. But because we have very, experienced, strong administrators, we were able to kind of address that survival type things of, how are kids getting to campus? Who's winter masks necessary? Are the desks 6 feet apart? We were able to kind of address that up front, and hammer it and sort of kind of nail it down and have everybody feel confident about that we didn't have to stick with that survival mode. We could start thriving. And by thriving, I mean, seeking that grow part of grow with the flow. How do we become better? And the fact is, we have like really incredible teachers here. I mean, they're so good, with the different resources they use, the different tools they use. So we've had a couple of professional collaboration days. I mean, in all, we've had maybe 30, if you add them all up, maybe 30 different teacher-led professional development sessions all around distance learning. And I mean, so many different teachers participated in this. And I talked to you guys a little bit about peer mediation before, right? Students having conflict and students helping them solve their conflict. Because guess who students listen to? They listen to students. Well, guess who teachers listen to? They listen to teachers. And especially they listen to teachers who are from their exact context, being here at ʻīao school. So those bright spots existed within our school, and they were very willing to share. And it's been a really good experience. I mean, I've heard this has probably been the best little run of professional development I can remember being a leader of, just because we just had to kind of set the stage, and teachers just ran with it. And those teachers who were attending these were so appreciative of getting to use these different, learn all these different tools. Those of you guys who are, involved with instruction, you may recognize some of these things: Pear Deck, Nearpod, Castify, Jamboard. I didn't know what these things were 6 months ago, and now they're part of our lexicon, and it's part of what we do. And it really came from inside. It wasn't something we had to go seek. And again, that's been really important. The other thing that we've done, again, this picture is obviously pre-COVID. They'd all be sitting on computers right now, but we've very much leaned on distributed leadership here at ʻīao School. We have teams, we have departments, and never more have we leaned on their leadership and expertise in making decisions. We can't make decisions and move forward until we have either consensus on something, or we've kind of examined it all the way down to the bone. And so that has been a very very important thing that we've done, is kind of letting people lead and distributing that leadership, and then collaborating very, very frequently, and making sure that everybody is heard before we take next steps. And that, I think, has made our teachers feel, feel comfortable, feel valued, and feel like they have ownership in what we're doing. So that I would kind of point to that as another thing that has helped us. I'm going to move on. So another thing we've talked about a little bit is new ways of doing things, right? Same core belief, same vision, same care and responsibility to our students and families, but the how and the what change. So something we've been working on for a few years now is the 4 habits of effective teaching and learning. And we talk about habits, right? You guys probably learn about 7 habits and things like this. This is kind of unrelated. This is really about how the brain works, and so and how students learn best. They're kind of in reverse order here, but if you look on the bottom, it's ready to learn, and then what to learn, talk to learn, and model to learn. And these are all based off of how the brain works. And so we've spent time over the past few years, going to other middle schools, walking through classrooms, reflecting on these, taking things away to improve our practice as educators. And so this year, again, this hasn't changed. Students' brains haven't changed. How they learn hasn't changed, but how we deliver the instruction absolutely has. So this is another pivot that we've had to make here during the school years. How do we take what we've learned about these habits of effective teaching and apply them in a distance learning setting? So that's just been a big pivot that we've made as far as doing things for the same purpose, but in a different way. We've also, sought out a lot of input and a lot of feedback from families, as we went through this. Massive amounts of communication, and then so at the end of Q1, we went and asked families, how satisfied are you with distance learning? And I thought this was a pretty good outcome. I feel like the instruction our teachers have been providing, has for the most part been very quality. And when we read deeper into why people are dissatisfied, it's not even with the instruction. It's just with, the kids missing out on all this social interaction. They're stuck at home in front of the computer. It's not necessarily developmentally appropriate for them to get everything off of a screen. So, this was kind of a nice piece of feedback that we got that actually made us decide, in Q2, we're going to maintain this. We've kind of got a good foundation. So seeking that kind of input or feedback from our families was important. Also from students. So multiple times, students have been, surveyed about how distance learning is going for them, what's working for them, and man, are they honest. But that's really how you how you improve, right? Is going down to the student and asking them, is this working for you? What could we do that's going to help you learn more effectively? And so that's kind of how we've come to that. I'll go back to this, and I talked a little bit about, how do we take this tool, how do we take this knowledge and use it in such a way that it's going to work in this new context. So I'll look down to like ready to learn. That was something that our teachers worked on a lot. It's creating this sense of connection among students. Greeting students at the door. Finding ways for them to share positive things. Creating a positive environment. Letting them support each other. Letting them interact. Learning how to communicate effectively. Building empathy. Now our teachers are tasked with creating that same environment, that same ready to learn feeling in students, but digitally. So we've been working on, just in the last couple of weeks here, is how are we going to do that, when we're not in person. Okay, so these are some of the great things that have happened at ʻīao in the past, and it's a little tough to look at some of these things. So we have, there's some robotics. That's our Hawaiian Studies class. They built, planter boxes and planted all kinds of kalo last year. We do have athletics here at ʻīao School. We have very strong participation in the middle school science fair. So how do we get these same experiences for students in a distance learning setting? And that's where we're at now. So like I said before, those challenges, they don't stop. They're still there. There are even new ones coming at us all the time. We know what our core beliefs are. We know what's best for our students. Just how do we deliver or create those experiences for them in this new normal? And that's really the challenge that we're going through now. One big thing we always work on is finding experiences for students that have an authentic audience. So we've made this shift to what's called service electives. And what that means basically is that our elective programs, we have band, ukulele, Hawaiian, Japanese, theater, dance, art, all these different electives. How can we shift the work of those electives to have an authentic audience or to perform some sort of service or some real world problem? Because middle schoolers, they have a lot of energy. They have a lot of optimism about things. But where that really comes out is when they can see a connection between what they're doing, what they're learning, and some sort of problem, some real problem that they can solve. And that's when students really start to feel that they're contributing to something. And that is, again, the current challenge that we're faced with right now. Another thing that we did, and just to give you an example of new ways of doing things, we usually have an open house. Thousands of people come on campus, parents go to different classrooms. We have, hot dogs and drinks for everybody, and everybody gets to meet and see everybody. And you just couldn't do that this year. So luckily, we had that buy-in from teachers. We had that trust from teachers that we were able to pull off what's called a virtual open house. And we used Flipgrid to do it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Flipgrid. It's a really cool program. Students can post videos, and then students can comment on those videos with their own videos. Super engaging for kids. They absolutely love it. Again, Flipgrid. But you're able to take Flipgrid. So each teacher created a Flipgrid, and we put them on what's called a mixtape. And so now families could go to this virtual open house. They could click on any one of the 70 teachers who are on here and listen to them kind of describe themselves and their class. And that's one way that we were able to stay connected, given this unique and very different context that we're kind of placed in right now. And so I'm sure you guys recognize where this picture was taken. that's all I have to share with you guys. I appreciate your time. I really hope you guys have some questions. I hope some of the things I've shared are of value to you guys. But we do have some great partnerships with UH Maui, and we can't achieve our vision without these partnerships with you and the other partnerships that we have, external to the school. So just wanted to thank, the people from Talent Search and Gear Up, Ahura Mirando, Lehuanani Bisson, Puna Meyer, Zandra Jackson, and Malik Bell. Just wanted to appreciate you guys for the work you do, and letting us connect with you guys at UH Maui. And again, thanks to Joyce Shimada for having me, and appreciate you guys' time, and hope you guys have some questions.
Thank you, Matt. We have one question here. What are you looking at from the DOE in terms of changing gates phases? Are there metrics to move to blended learning?
Can you
Some in class,
repeat the
some
beginning
outside.
of that? Oh, in terms of changing gates phases. Okay, so yes, there are metrics. And those metrics are kind of like external metrics, right? Like what's happening on the island of Maui in terms of cases, right? We get a lot of direction on that, as far as, here's the metrics and here's what's expected of you, but we get very little direction as far as how you're going to enact it at the school. Every school is very different. That's why they do that, right? I mean, different schools have different amounts of physical space. And one of the big things that boils down to is physical space. We don't have much physical space here. Even though our enrollment has dropped, we're about 900 kids right now. It's just, we have very small classrooms, and a small area. So how we approach it is going to be different from other schools. So yes, there's metrics, but then it basically comes down to the school and what's agreed upon at the school as far as, how to meet the needs of students and go as far as we can, but do it safely. But there's a lot of other thought about that too, right? It depends on what, on how people feel about things. Some schools are worried if I start to, and principals are worried if I start to bring students back, if we really push, I'm not going to have any teachers, and then I'm not going to have any subs. So now I'm going to have 60 or 70 kids on campus without a teacher for them. So there's a lot of moving parts when you start to make those decisions, and the metrics are just kind of one piece of that.
So Matt, you foresee staying fully online for the rest of the year, yeah?
Oh, no, for the rest of the calendar year, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just yesterday, met with leadership, proposed kind of how we're going to blend kids back in this quarter. Just say kind of shooting up here, and then it kind of gets whittled down a little bit, but that's kind of how it goes because we all have to move forward together. And the fact is the teachers are the ones in class with these kids all day. It's not me. So we have to kind of make those decisions, as a team.
Thanks, Matt.
There's another question. Can you speak a little bit more about how you facilitated the goal-setting conversations with your staff in a virtual context?
So it's really about just giving that time, giving that question, offering up that thought or that quote, and then individuals. It was kind of done in teams. Typically the teams at the start of the year, they come together and develop what's going to be like their common practices. We're all going to grade this way. We're all going to, have this activity that we do every week. We're all, and so they come up with common practices within their team, and that team shares the same group of kids. So that's really important is that common piece, that connection piece that happens with the team. This year, it was more about how are we going to adjust our goals and our approach to teaching as a team, given this. So, was there how did we facilitate it? It was kind of the same things I shared with you. It's giving them pieces of information that they may not have thought about, helping them empathize outside of what they normally would, just based on their own understanding. And then kind of hosting that conversation and then and then letting them go with it when they started to have their collaborative time within their teams. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that's really great. And we're here today really to make connections with each other and amongst ourselves. So if you wouldn't mind, everybody, just put on your audio and unmute yourself, and maybe we can sort of go down and people will have just a short, maybe half a minute thing to say something. And for me, what I have to say is that what I learned and what I heard from you was that was important to me was to have forgiveness amongst each other and also for yourself. And that's really important because we're going through a lot right now. So, mistakes can happen or things not quite how you normally expect things to be. So it's really helpful to be mindful of having forgiveness for each other and for ourselves. So I see Lihuanani, your screen is open. Would you like to share something? Make connections with, we have several people from ʻīao school as well. And so,
Well, it's a mahalo, Matt, for taking on this group. You're very brave brave to talk to us. I think this reminds me of the Olelo no ʻīao, Yola no Kikino, Ikamā ona o Kaupu. The body enjoys health when the stomach is filled. I think the most important thing here is that we all take really good care of ourselves so we can take care of our kuleana along the journey. And ʻīao school has always been special on Maui, sir, always. I mean, I think I went there for a minute after my parents came home. So I have a strong feeling we'll be working together in the future. And mahalo to you for opening up to Kahakaloa. My son and his family lives there. And so not having internet has caused 3 children in my house every day, which is why I'm at my office working to get them the internet that they need. You're doing a fabulous job, and all of your staff are incredibly courageous to be where they are right now. And it's going to get better. I absolutely believe it's going to get better. Hope we hear from you again.
Right on. Thank you.
Malik, would you like to say a few words? I see that you're unmuted.
Sure, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to have a fantastic relationship with ʻīao School. That is talent search there. We were sort of at the advent of really beginning to look at expanding and seeing how we can, increase our ability to support, the students and the teachers in the programs that we offer there. And of course, everybody in this period has had to reassess how they're going to deliver programs. And talent search is largely a program that relies on in-person, deliverables. And so we ourselves are in the same mode of trying to reassess and reimagine how we're going to be doing that. But in the same spirit, we want to be ready and be available to be a resource to faculty, students in areas where potentially there might be, things that need to be troubleshooted. So please, continue to look at us as a resource, to ʻīao and its students and all those who are a part of that community, parents, anybody who has a stake in the success of the children at ʻīao. We're still a partner, and we still want to be a part of that success. So we appreciate, of course, everything that you've done, and we continue to be as much of a resource as we can possibly be going forward, and just look forward to being able to be a part of that process.
I want to piggyback on Malik's if possible. I want to say thank you, Mr. Dillon, and to you and all your staff, because definitely you are superheroes. If you are working with middle schoolers, I've been there, done that, so I understand the middle school mentality. And it just takes, you're right, a special person to work with that population. As Malik said, we want to continue to support you guys in any way we can, and we appreciate you allowing us that possibility to support. Thanks.
You guys are always welcome.
Oh,
Aloha, Mr. Dillon. Thank you so much for presenting to us here. It's been a pleasure. And aloha, Sandy. Nice to see you. Yeah, I really love your theme, grow with the flow. I mean, that's so catchy. I might have to use it. So just saying.
Feel it.
But I really love that, and it's been great. And I think just that theme alone brings everybody together and connection, and I think that's just great. And from what it sounds like, your staff and your teachers and team are just moving in a direction to really help the students. And with you mentioning about Kahakuloa and trying to get all that technology and the Wi-Fi out, kudos to you. That's incredible. Because I mean, for us too, and trying to get to like Molokai, as Kelly was mentioning or said, with services there, it's very difficult to get all those hotspots and the connections. And so for you to do that, thank you so much. Congrats.
Right on. Thanks. Hey, like I said at the beginning, I'm the one giving this presentation, but man, it's the work of these teachers and staff that did all that. I mean, I've been here, but they work really hard and they care a lot about the kids.
Awesome. We have about 3 more minutes. Kelly, you want to say something or share something that was striking to you or significant?
Sure, I'd love to. Hi, Matt. My name is Kelly. Oh, let me turn on my video. Sorry, I might have food in my teeth. I'm trying to eat and listen at the same time. So nice to meet you. I'm Kelly. I'm from Molokai, actually. So I service the outreach center here. And I just want to say that I'm so impressed with your leadership capacity. It's been amazing to watch the DOE schools kind of adapt locally, and just to hear how you've been able to mobilize a school of your size around this mindset of growing with the flow is amazing. It makes me hopeful. It makes me think that, you know, it's possible. If you guys can, we can too. And I just learned a lot of, I think, important leadership tips from you. I really like when you pointed out when you were able to remove the survival conversations off the table for your staff, that they really could get to a place of how do we become excellent. And I think that personally, that was a mistake I made. And so I really appreciated hearing you say that, because I'll be more mindful the next time we have an outbreak, not to be stuck on conversations around survival. I think that's a super important thing. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, that was a learned by making mistakes moment for me too.
Thanks, Kelly. How about you, Julie? You have something to share?
Hi, aloha. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Yeah, there was a lot of wisdom, and just being able for you to connect with the families and the staff, because everyone's coming from different backgrounds. I ditto what Kelly had mentioned. More importantly, I think there's a component in there that also requires us to think that we need to be brave with how we want to approach change. And it's okay for us to have these mistakes so that we can learn and grow, because we'll only get better. So thank you again.
So we're just hitting on the hour. And from Maui College, thank you so much, Mr. Dillon, for being with us and sharing some of your ideas. We so appreciate it, and we look forward to a continued relationship with you and your employees.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.